mean everything you need because I know you mean everything in Christ. And Christ means everything to me.
I called on the Lord. I said, the Father, this is real. Will you watch over him? Will you raise him up to be strong? I'm just a man with flesh. This is what you call for in your scriptures. You said they wore studs and fringes, they got it on. You said they follow the law, they doing it. You said under your house shine, they ought to love one another. And they doing it.
First off, I want to thank God. Thank the Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. Keep y'all guards up. Let you know we ride with you. And let me say one more thing. If you don't like your Christian pastor stealing all your tithes money, buying new houses, buying new cars, new jets, locking the doors on you and storing you for money, come to the UPK. Here in the UPK, your tithes money is not going to be misused. It's going to be used for the right things in the community for Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans all over the earth. All over the earth. Israel, pay your tithes to Commanding General Yohana and the UPK, man. Pay your tithes. Go to isupk.com and you click that tithes and donation button and you pay your tithes to Commanding General Yohana, the only man on the earth doing real work in the community.
Involved and interactive with the class. But I do have something prepared today. There's a name that's given to our awakening, our movement that is by. People tend to call this a Black Hebrew Israelite movement. They call it Black Hebrew. And when that term gets used, it kind of takes away from our actual premise, which kind of goes against what we as Hebrew Israelites are actually trying to get people to understand. And many people do understand. We receive a lot of respect and support from people in many different types of communities, whether it be hip-hop community, whether it be the scholastic, debate community, even amongst scholars of the nations, people that we come across with our ambassadors, captains, generals that have endeavored to communicate across the board and open up the airways so that the truth can be spread across the four corners of the earth. And that's a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying, to be able to see all things, but we make things. So it's important for us to be that. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement, not the real title of the movement. It should just be called the Awakening of the Hebrew Israelite, because Hebrew is our language, Israelite is our nationality, and it's more so about bloodline than escape. So that's something that would be first and foremost to tell you. Now, we also say that Christ is a Black man. Yes, we will absolutely say that, because that is a fact. It's just who he is, what he looks like. The scripture described him both in Revelation and in the book of Daniel. What he's saying, prophesied in the book of Daniel as well. So, that being said, I want to talk today about the Native American tribes. We know as so-called Hispanics, that ranges anywhere between, the North Central South America, the indigenous population. Typically, the thing about it is that people have been mixed all throughout this time, right? So I want to kind of right? It's first and foremost, we have a book titled View of the American Indians. It's a very long title. It says their general character, customs, language, public festivals, religious rites, and traditions, showing them to be the descendants of the 10 tribes of Israel. Notice it says 10 tribes, right? Because Israel was split around 700 to 800 BC after the time of Solomon's son reigned. And so Israel was split, but not only was it split, Israel was removed from the land of Israel and ended up in Syrian captivity. These are things that we have time to go to the scriptures to explain these are. But the most important thing about this is because Israel was split, and also because we read the Bible, the Israelites fled from that land and came to part of the globe where mankind had never dwelt at before. It is most important to know where they ended up, what did they dress like, what were their ceremonies, what did they call themselves, and that tends to rock the boat quite a bit when it comes to the scholastic community, because your K-12 system is not going to educate you on these things really. Most colleges and institutions of schooling and things like that, they're not necessarily going to put this on the forefront of a knowledge base or curriculum that's going to help you pass the class of this section. And you have to really go out and search for these things, but they're clearly out there. This is a book written from the early 1800s. This book was written in 1828. Got another book here. This one I recently brought up at camp, but I actually want to read a little bit of it. This is called The History of the Conquest of New Spain, written by Bernal Diaz del Castillo, written from the Guatemalan manuscripts of an account of Hernan Cortez's right-hand man and some of the first encounters with the Native Americans. There's going to be some very shocking information in there that most people are not necessarily privy to. There might be some really interesting things for people to know. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go in and talk about a little bit of just pull the scripture here. Let's go ahead and get Job chapter 8, verse 8. We'll start there because I want to start with the scriptures. I always want to make sure that I'm tying the information that I'm working out with the scripture. That's a very important thing to do. The scripture does tell you, the Bible says that the scripture is the most authoritative knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Where it says, seek ye out the book of the Lord and read, for no one of these shall fail. And it says, none shall want faith. Because when it comes to building and understanding of the doctrine, the Bible itself is always going to be the source of the doctrine. And once you have that down, you'll notice that there may be books out there that agree with it or disagree with it. So you don't want to take everything with a grain of salt when reading any book of any other type. I'll be first to say that because there's a lot of religious books, or not religious books, but history books that don't talk about this, while as there are ones that do. So we're just simply giving you the perspective of some of the scholars hundreds of years ago, so that you can see that the Bible actually does have, so the people in the scholastic community that agree with what we've been saying based on our understanding of the scriptures. So that y'all know that this is not the entire thing. It's actually something that's been hidden for a long time, or at least suppressed, to prevent people from knowing more about it. Native Americans, so-called Hispanics, it's important for us to come back to the Bible, but also understand it wholeheartedly so that we can understand just who we are in this book. You understand? Next one. You talking about
It's like, yeah, give me 1 second. Microphone. We'll go ahead and do a mic check now. All right. All right, mic check 1, 2. Let's go ahead and read that real quick. Yeah, that one's good too. Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah, you can use that one. Mic check.
Mic check.
Yeah, can you hear? Is it coming out the sound speaker? That one?
Mic check. Yeah, I think.
Okay, good. So we're going to start with the book of Job, chapter 8 and verse 8. Let's go ahead and get that.
This is Book of Job, chapter 8, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age,
Mm-hmm.
and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
Yeah, we have to always keep in mind of who we are, where we come from. That's very important. You know, if the Bible tells you to do something, you have to do it. You have to understand it. This is not something that you need to push back or kick down the road and try to push that to do something later. It's something that becomes the foundation of who you are. You have to be on the search of your forefathers. Now, Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians, we face a major predicament because a lot of us come from broken homes. Mothers being separated from their fathers, you understand? Children being separated from one of their paternal parents. Some of us growing up in foster homes. There's all different types of scenarios that have played out. But one thing that we know for sure is that what Christ said was very important when he said that my sheep hear my voice. Because the voice that Christ is speaking in these last days is the spirit of the scriptures being put out across the whole entire earth. And the real Israelites are starting to understand just how important all these scriptures get pieced together to give you the understanding of the time before. So when it's saying something like my sheep hear my voice, when Christ says that, we understand that coming back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High is utterly important. Searching what our forefathers' lineage is very important. Believing in the scriptures is very important. And just from the fact that somebody can come in and learn the Bible and understand it in a way that even if they don't even know directly who their father is, but have a general sense of where they come from, this will really help point them in the right direction, especially when you start to see such heavy information like what we're about to be reading today. Let me just do a quick mic check, make sure everything's good now. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. All right, Most High cry. Hey, the water officer Copper Yard, he called just to make sure that we fix the mic, so we're good there. Let's just read that one more time real quick.
The Book of Job, chapter 8, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
For inquire, I pray thee.
Keep going. I'm gonna make sure the mic's a little loud.
For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
That's the whole scripture, right? There's no more on that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at what our forefathers were actually doing during the time of the Spanish conquest of the Americas. So with that, we're going to jump straight into it. I have this book here. We talked about it before, View of the Native American Indians, which is going to outline a lot of the customs of the Native Americans by a firsthand account of the Spanish that were studying us, okay? Because they had to use Spanish friars that knew Hebrew to communicate with us. And this is what they're writing in their books, okay? So don't take our word for it. Let's see what they have to say. Again, just to kind of keep it short, for your notes' sake, just type or just write View of the American Indians, page 48. So you want to write that down there because we're going to jump into page 48 and we're going to read some sections from here that are going to definitely change some people's perspectives on it. Let's see. 48. Let's start at page 49. Here, I got it right here. I got it highlighted too. We're going to read that highlighted part right there on page 49. I want y'all to hear what this says right here about what the Native Americans believed hundreds of years ago. Okay, this is again written in the 1800s, but it's a compilation of everything that was actually written down from the 1500s, 1600s, all the way up until the actual conquest of the Americas. So really important information here. Let's see what Native Americans had going on.
A view. The title is A View of the American Indian. The very ancient men who have witnessed the former glory and prosperities of their nation, or who have heard from the mouths of their ancestors, and especially for their beloved men, whose office it is to keep alive their traditions and law, and make them known to the rising generation.
So what does that sound like? Just from what we first read right there, that sounds like a priesthood, right?
Yeah.
So the office of the learned men within the community, the elders, you know what I'm saying, they had different ranks among themselves. You're going to see that when you're reading about the Native Americans. It says that their job was to make sure that there was a standard that was kept amongst all of them, and that the children would be raised up and would learn these standards. That is something that's going to be passed down from the elders to the younger, so that the next generation can be raised with a level of wisdom that would be able to sustain their culture. Go ahead and read.
The former state of the country, the prowess of their warriors in old times, and the peace and happiness of society.
So these are all things that they wanted to make sure to remember: the prowess of their warriors, the state of affairs of the old times in the country. That this is them reminiscing on a time where the Native Americans were completely free and had not been conquered yet. You understand? So this is something that they're trying to have their children hold on to. At the very same time, understand that the Spaniards came over and used to say, what they say, kill the Indians, save the child, or something like that, where they used to indoctrinate Native Americans so that they wouldn't remember their culture, so that they wouldn't remember how strong their warriors were, so that they wouldn't remember how righteous they were. And that's exactly what has bled all the way into today's society, is the lack of understanding of just how righteous the Native American people were. And when I say Native Americans, I'm including also the indigenous people of Central and South America, because technically I kind of consider them all Native in that sense, but they of course have different names based off of whoever conquered them, right? So it's telling you that they're remembering those things. But listen to what it has to say after that. Keep going.
Weep like infants.
So these native elders, after recalling all of the greatness that they came from in their culture, this says that they weep like infants. Go ahead.
When they speak of the fallen conditions of the people.
They spoke of the fallen conditions of the people and said, we used to be so great. We used to be so righteous. We used to be so powerful. We had our own land. But now something has happened to us. We have been destroyed. We don't no longer have our influence. We no longer have our culture. We have been diminished. It says when they recall of the former age. So keep going. It's going to explain why.
But this grief is not altogether without relief.
Mm-hmm.
For they have a prophecy of the ancient origins.
It's not all grief, because there's a balance there. There's the recognition of what was before, and the lamentation, as the scripture calls it. Lamentation is meaning like almost like a state of sadness, right? That they're able to understand and feel because of what they had before. But it's not all grief, because of the hope that they have and a prophecy that the Native Americans used to tell each other. So go ahead and read what that prophecy is. Just back up just a little bit so you can read that part again right before it gets into it.
Okay. We like infants when they speak of the fallen conditions of the people.
Mm-hmm.
But this grief is not altogether without relief.
Mm-hmm.
For they have a prophecy of ancient origins and universal currency among them, that the man of America will at a further day regain his ancient ancestry.
Is it ascension? Let me see. Which one is it? Let me see. I can't tell. Ascendancy. Oh yeah, it was close. Yeah, ascendant. Ancient ascendancy meaning like power, rank. Ascendancy means like a status, a level. And you know what's beautiful about that is that we understand that conditions of heaven and hell are based off of the level of ascendancy here, even on earth, a state of being on earth. So what they're weeping about is the fact that they're in a hellish condition, but they have prophecy of them regaining a heaven-like community again. So they are actually prophesying of the awakening that we in the ISUPK and the Commanding General Yohana are actually starting. But you have, of course, they wrote this all the way back then. They didn't get to live to see what is happening right now, because right now you have Black and Hispanics that have united, that are standing in front of the Alamo where they desecrated the Native American burial grounds, where we have brothers in the school that are literally getting, you know what I'm saying, espoused to Native American chiefs' daughters, you understand, and reuniting our community and tying those tribes back together, because it is the beginning of that reascendancy that it's talking about. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Back with this book, the prophecies gave them hope. Right?
Exactly.
So that hope, like through ISUPK, is really like it did something. It's starting to open up.
And those were things that were taught to by their men of high rank in their office. So we see here in the Bible that there's different levels even amongst themselves. I'm going to go even further into that, because that's going to be described even more so on some of the other pages we'll be reading today. But what I want y'all to see is that the Native Americans had a rank and order structure. They had officers and priests that were teaching the culture and trying to withstand, hold on to their traditions. They also recognized where they failed and where they lost, and were able to not only just recognize their failures, but also have hope for the future, knowing and believing wholeheartedly that there would be a time where they would no longer be in suffering anymore. You understand? So just read that one part again.
But this grief is not altogether without relief. But they have a prophecy of the ancient origins and the universal currency among them, that the man of America will, at a future day, regain his ancient ascendancy.
Ancient ascendancy. Keep going.
And expel the man of Europe from this Western Hemisphere.
It says what?
Expel.
Expel means to exile, to remove.
Yeah.
It says that there's going to come a time where the prophecy says that there will be removed from this land. That's part of the Native American prophecy. Has it happened yet? No, because we all know Esau is still over here. The man of Europe is still over here. But they still hold on to that hope. Now, these are the kind of things in these books that we ought to be sharing with the Native Americans at powwows. So this is what your ancestors were talking about back then. Now, of course, there's many different tribes within the Native Americans, right? Many different ones. They may have different cultures, different customs, but it is interesting to see these things that are written about some of these tribes that held on to some very peculiar traditions. So was there more on the highlighted portion, or was that? Yeah. All right, keep going.
This nattering persuasion has enabled their prophets to arrest in some tribes the use of intoxicating liquors, and has given birth to attempts for a general confederacy of the Indians of North America.
So how was it that they dealt with their pain and suffering? We know even from hundreds of years ago that intoxicating liquors was a way that they found escape, aside from the prophecies. Which, here's one thing I'll say about that, because like even as the scripture refers to when Christ would be a wine bibber, you know what I'm saying? Christ was somebody that drank wine. He didn't mind having a couple drinks. It really sparked a lot of conversation. You understand? But we also know that we have to have a lot of discretion and discipline so that we're not overindulging. You know what I mean? And that's a major thing, especially amongst the Native Americans, because to this day we still know and hear and empathize with them, because we know that there are many of them that lean more to the drink than to the prophecy. So we have to reintroduce them to things like the prophecy and also the law, statutes, and commandments and things that their forefathers actually would keep. So let's actually cover some of that. Here I'm gonna read this. Let's actually, you can put that one down just for now, because I wanna go over this right here. This right here. Missing a few pages from it. No one to happen to them, but page 9 is where we actually start off in this book. And in the first account of the Native Americans, this is written in the 1500s, by the way. So Bernal Diaz del Castillo is a Spanish conquistador who was eventually a right-hand man of Hernan Cortez, who was tasked with coming over here from Spain to conquer the land. And so when they first came over here, right, because of what they were searching for was gold, resources, new spices, new foods, new things to take back to their Spain. And in fact, this is how you know it was the case, because the literal name of this book is The Conquest of New Spain. Had it been completely up to them, this would not be called the Americas. It would be called New Spain if they had actually succeeded at that point in time. Okay. Because, well, let's just find out how their first encounters with the Native Americans were. We're going to go ahead and start right here on page 9. And this is titled under the section called The Expedition Under Cordova. So under Cordova was somebody that was leading this, and Bernal Diaz was involved with that expedition. So, but right before this starts, here you go. This right here. Right before this starts, what takes place is the Native Americans greeted the Spanish that came in with their boats. Very impressive boats in comparison to what the Native Americans may have had, right? So they asked them in the language, and they pointed so that they can understand them. It says, "Do y'all come from where the sun rises?" Which was from the east. And do you know why they asked them that question? Because they originally came from the east as well. We read about that in the scriptures. We'll definitely be reading that shortly. But the Native Americans reacted to their response. They said, yes, we came from where the sun rises, meaning across the ocean. And so the Native Americans withdrew themselves from the Spanish and then prepared for this right here. Let's go ahead and read, start right there where the paragraph begins at verse 9. I'm sorry, not verse 9, page 9. This is again from the book called The Conquest of New Spain by Bernal Diaz. Go ahead.
While we were keeping watch during the night, we heard a great squadron of Indian warriors approaching from the town and from the farms. And we knew well that their assembly boded us no good.
Yeah, the assembly boded them no good because you said that it said they were weeping, they were hollering. Were they making noise?
No, it didn't get there.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start from the top.
Yeah, go ahead.
While we were keeping watch during the night, we heard, okay.
So they were making noise?
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons why they do that is to strike fear into their enemy, but also is a sense of honor, because you're allowing them to react in time. So that it's not a sneak attack. So the Native Americans, while they did have a form of guerrilla warfare, where it wasn't them just lining up and aiming a musket like the way the European and British people did at one point in time. It was literally them letting you know they were coming so that you can get your weapon ready so that they could have an honorable fight. You see what I'm saying? So, and at this time, they had no idea what kind of technology or what type of swords the Spanish had when they were about to fight them, but they were about to find out. Both sides are about to find out in the craziest way imaginable. And mind you, when these journals were written, they were written freshly after each occasion. We read that when you looked up the book, it said it accounted for over 120 something battles, right? It was over 100 battles. And so every time that there was a skirmish, every time that there was a specific situation, Bernal Diaz is recalling it and writing it down shortly after, as good as he could remember them. You understand? So it's still pretty fresh in his memory because it was all within the span of a certain number of years. So he was able to recall everything as it happened and give us a really, really specific details about each encounter. So this is how this encounter went.
Mm-hmm. So he was actually at every battle?
Yeah.
So he had to survive too?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this whole entire thing was compiled and it was kept in Guatemala, but the Spanish they did not want this to come out. So there was many different copies that they had tried to prevent from being published, but this was one of the copies that has its most complete version. Now, I'm not going to say that they didn't want it to come out, but they definitely didn't want certain parts of it to be released. This is one of the more complete versions of this account. And again, it's a lot of pages, but it does give you some information about these Native Americans that may go against what most people understood them to be, right? Especially when dealing with the fact that the Spanish did not find success early on when they dealt with the Native Americans in manners of warfare. Not entirely. So let's go ahead and see what else happened.
We took counsel together.
Go ahead.
We took counsel together as to what should be done. However, some said one thing and some said another. While we were still taking counsel, and dawn broke, and we could see that there were about 200 Indians to every one of us. And we said one to the other, let us strengthen our hearts for the fight. And after commending ourselves to God, let us do our best to save our lives.
So these, of course, they're religious as well. Oh, you can get that real quick while I'm explaining. So what he's reading right now is, again, from the perspective of the Spanish as they're about to confront these Native Americans that are getting ready to ambush their convoy, right? And the problem with this is the Spanish had already settled some kind of a camp on land. And so they were not immediately able to flee on their boats. They were going to at first try to confront these Native Americans. They assumed that it was somewhere around 200 of them to every one of them. That's what he said. So they were outnumbered 200 to 1, which is just, it's crazy. Yeah, it's there's no beating that. I mean, unless, you got God with you. But they about to find out because they're over there saying that they're committing themselves to their God, right? So the Spanish are in the name of their religion, praying that they'll survive. Okay, I understand that. This actually sounds a lot like one of the scenes on the movie The Odyssey, because there's a scene where Odysseus and his crew get off of the ships and they come and confront a tribal people that are in the land that he landed at. They end up chasing him and his whole army back to their boats and are getting murdered along the way, which is insane. But this actually sounds almost exactly like that. So go ahead and read that.
As soon as it was daylight, we could see coming along the coast many more Indian warriors with their banners raised. When their squadrons were formed up, they surrounded us all, side and poured in such showers of arrows and darts and stones thrown from their slings that over 80 of us soldiers were wounded.
So they had slingshots. That's biblical. They had arrows. They were showering them with arrows and darts. Yeah. And they were just like overwhelmed by the amount of firepower coming from the Native Americans. Keep going.
And they attacked us hand to hand, some with lances, and the others shooting arrows, and the others with two-handed knife-edged swords. Macanas or Macachabits. A wooden sword edged with sharp flint and obsidian. A wooden sword edged with sharp flint or obsidian.
So they would make swords too. They use wood to make those swords. Go ahead.
And they brought us to a bad pass. At last, feeling the effects of our sword play, they drew back a little, but it was not far, and only enabled them to shoot their stones and darts at us with greater safety to themselves.
Right. So they just adapted to the firepower of the swords. So they actually had to deal with the Spanish metal swords, and some of them most likely were either injured or killed during that part of the confrontation, because he said they finally got to feel the effect of our swords once they got close enough. Then they backed up, then just started firing more artillery, arrows, and darts at them. So let's see how what their next move is. Go ahead.
Our captain then saw that our good fight availed us nothing.
He said, "What? Read that again."
Our captain then saw that our good fight availed us nothing.
He said, "Our captain," meaning the Spanish captain, right, saw that our good fight availed us nothing. Why is that? Keep going.
Other squadrons of warriors were approaching us fresh from the town.
Right. They were getting reinforced. Native Americans had even more people coming up, getting ready to, because they came to defend their brothers from a different area settlement. They done found out there's war going on. Our brothers are in a fight right now. We going to back them up. That's what we reading about right here. So now the Europeans are like, this ain't looking too good. We might need to skedaddle out of here. Keep going.
Bringing food and drinks with them and large supplies of arrows.
So they bring in food, rations, right? Because you got to support the soldiers on the battlefield. Then, more arrows. They getting replenished on their ammunition. Keep going. That sounds very tactical, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All our soldiers were wounded with 2 or 3 arrow wounds.
Damn. Every single European soldier felt an arrow or 2. Keep going.
3 of them had their throats pierced by lance thrusts.
Damn. That's that. Now you can see what I'm saying about how he remembers all that, because he was right there as it was going on. Keep going.
Our captains was bleeding from many wounds, and already 50 of the soldiers were lying dead.
So they already lost 50 men, and many of the rest of them were still injured. Go ahead. You can keep going. There's a little bit more.
Feeling that our strength was exhausted, we determined with stout hearts to break through the battalion surrounding us and seeking shelter in the boats which awaited us near the shore.
Right. They said we need to get all the way to the boats and just run away, because ain't no winning this fight. Go ahead.
So we formed in close array and broke through the enemies.
So they just tried to funnel their way through a small part of the group of natives. So they're just trying to break out, because they're either being surrounded or they're being flanked, and they need to find a way out of the situation. Keep going.
Then to hear the yells, hisses, and cries as the enemy showered arrows on us and hurled lances with all their might, wounding us sorely.
It's just crazy, right? So he said we could hear the hiss of the arrows. We could hear the shouts of the tribe of the Native Americans as they were attacking the Spaniards. They felt helpless. Mind you, they went into this battle after praying to their God, going into the battle, and completely were getting annihilated. Let's keep going.
Then another danger befell us.
Go ahead.
As we all sought shelter in the boats, at the same time they began to sink. So in the best way we could manage hanging on to the waterlogged boats and half swimming. We reached the vessel of the lightest draught, which came in haste to our assistance.
So by the time they got back to their boats so that they can make their grand escape, the boats itself had started to sink. So they barely are hanging on by a thread, because, mind you, there's a whole ocean out there. But they just needed to get away from, I believe it was Central America where this took place. I think it happened in the land of Campeche, which is modern day Guatemala, at the northern part of Guatemala. And so they need to get up out of there. So they're like, I don't care where we going. We just going that way into the water. You know what I'm saying? The sun had just started to come out. They're getting into the water. The boat's starting to sink. So they're just hanging on to the parts of the boat that's floating and are just paddling with their feet and moving with their arms to try to get out of there while they're still getting arrows thrown at them, while they're still hearing the hooping and hollering of the natives. They're just like completely admitting defeat, and the retreat is looking as pathetic as possible. I need y'all to understand that about what's being described here. Go ahead. Isn't that crazy though? Isn't that amazing? Go ahead.
Many of us were wounded while we embarked, especially those who were sitting in the stern of the boats.
Mm-hmm.
But the Indians shot at them as targets,
Mm-hmm.
and even waded into the sea with
Mm-hmm.
their lances and attacked us with all their strength. Thank God, by a great effort, we escaped with our lives
Mm-hmm.
from the clutches of those people.
Right. So this man Hernan Cortez, the Most High had kept him alive to give us an account of this situation. If they all had died, we wouldn't be reading this right now. So some of them survived it to be able to tell the tale. And this is just one of over 100 accounts of a battle that took place. Is there more on that? Did it describe anything once they got on board or anything like that?
You talking about the next 5 days?
Yeah, he's basically probably going to say, you know, some of us were sick. Some of the men died from their wounds. They didn't have nothing to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's hell for them. It's just they're going through the absolute worst. That's why, you know what's crazy? People always talk about, honor the veterans. Well, the Spanish had veterans that day, and them veterans went through hell to get to eventually lead to their victory over the North American tribe. It did not come easily. Okay, it wasn't no walk in the park, because they were being outnumbered, they were being outclassed, they were being out tacticianed. You understand? This was not and all that after them simply saying, yes, we came from the east. We came from where the sun rises across the sea. And they were like, nope, we got to get him out of here. We don't like these Europeans coming over here and doing anything on our land. We don't trust them. That's the first encounter that Bernal Diaz had with the Native Americans. It went completely south. It went completely wrong. They did not succeed that day. All right. You want to read that? Go ahead. Yeah. Go for it. This book is here. You can read it whenever you want to read it.
Okay, cool. Okay, it says, after we had attended to the wounds,
Mm-hmm.
and there was not a man among us who had not 2, 3, or 4 wounds.
Damn.
And the captain was wounded in 10 places, and the only one soldier that escaped without hurt. We decided to return to Cuba. So only one soldier just didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
Everybody else had 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. So the dude that didn't have no injuries, he was probably helping tend to everyone else's injuries. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't say he did, but I can imagine they was all shell shocked after that. You know what I'm saying? You got because when you have an arrow piercing, it don't matter where it is, you got to take it out, right? At some point, you got to take it out. You can't just be running around with it, right? So you got to patch it up. You bleeding. It could be doing internal damage. Yeah, you ain't got no surgeons. You don't have no proper medical equipment. Maybe the best you could do is disinfect it and try to sew it up and hope it didn't tear anything up under the skin. And so you just got to understand, just hearing this is just so graphic, but your mind kind of helps fill in some of those blanks. But understand that this is what he was able to recall. Go ahead and read a little bit more, though. See what else it says.
As almost all the sailors also were wounded, we were short-handed for tending to the sails.
Mm-hmm.
So we abandoned the smallest vessel and set fire to her. After removing the sails, cables, and anchors, and we divided the sailors who were unwounded between the 2 larger vessels. However, our greatest trouble arose from the want of fresh water, for owing to the attack made on us. and the haste with which we had to take the boats, all the casks and the barrels which we had filled with water were
Man.
left behind.
So they imagine you floating in a sea or ocean, and your lips are dry because there's no actual water. You're surrounded by water. You can't drink none of it. And the water that you did have was stored in these containers that you had to throw off board. Otherwise, the whole boat was going to sink. So they didn't have nothing to drink. They didn't have, like, even just to rinse their wounds off. They didn't have any proper, clean, fresh water to drink. So like I said, they was feeling that day. And I like that it describes it to such a degree, because you have to understand just the amount of pain and suffering Esau had to face when trying to take this land for the first time. People are like, oh, Christopher Columbus discovered America, came over here, la-di-da-di-da, ate some turkey, and then decided, oh, whoops, your land is mine now. No, it was not like that at all. At all. It was, we got whooped over and over and over and over. And the only way we was able to beat them was to lie to them and pretend to be their friends and try to find the Uncle Toms within them. That's how it will play out as you continue to read that book. And so that's just the first account of it. Did you want to read more on that, or did you want to, we got some more stuff. Keep going. Go ahead.
So great was our thirst that our mouth and tongues were cracked with the dryness, and there was nothing to give us relief.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what hardships one endures when discovering new lands.
Yeah. Oh, what hardships one endures when discovering new lands. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead and drop it for now, because we're gonna go back to the other book, and let's get Well, before we do, let's get 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 13 and verse 40. 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 13, verse 40. Y'all see this? Y'all picking up on this? This is the truth about the Native Americans, according to all the Spanish conquistadors that encountered them. They done found out just how powerful they really are. And I like seeing this. This isn't about hatred or anything like that. It's just reading and experiencing what other people experience firsthand. And so it's so important for us to do that without being emotionally attached to the outcome of it, either side, whether you're of a different nation or an Israelite. It's important for us to sense what pride they felt, what shame they felt when these things happen to them, man, because it's the story of human beings on this planet Earth. We ought to see and understand the things that have happened before. So again, 2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 40. What was I say? Yeah, verse 40. And you see right here, I have a Bible, which is based off the 1611 King James Bible, and I'm here in this Bible in the book of 2nd Esdras, because this book has the Apocrypha in it. This is a real King James Bible. It's going to have these things that tie the Native American Indians to the children of Israel. You're not going to find that in a Catholic book that's in the church right now. You're not going to find that in a New International Version. So it's important for you to understand that ISUPK and the Commanding General Yohana, we do a lot of research and understanding and seeking out information that helps us understand the Bible in its complete form better than a lot of other institutions out there. We don't charge you for this information. We don't. This is some most utterly valuable information. They say that ISUPK means Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. This is practical knowledge we're reading about. When we read the scriptures, practical knowledge. When we read history books, it's practical, how it ties and it solidifies what the scriptures have been telling us. Let's go ahead and read verse 40. Go ahead.
This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, verse 40.
Go ahead.
Those are the 10 tribes.
The same 10 tribes that book is named after. The view of the American Indians, showing them to be the 10 tribes of Israel. Obviously, there's 12 tribes in Israel, but 10 of those tribes are the tribes that it's talking about in that book and in the Bible. Go ahead.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners
Mm-hmm.
out of their own land
Mm-hmm.
in the time of Osee,
Mm-hmm.
the king, whom
Shalmaneser.
Shalmaneser,
Mm-hmm.
the king of Assyria, led away captive.
Right, because Hoshea, the king of the northern tribe of Israel, I know under Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, had took the 10 tribes, removed them from their land, put other people in the land, made them follow after the culture of Israel. And to this day, you have people that claim ancestry to the land, but for many of them, it goes back and it stops right here. Meaning they were not the original people of the land, but they were put in that land to replace the real Israelites that were supposed to be in that land. This is where you get the fake Jews nowadays, and a lot of the Palestinians and people that are in the land now, they come from the Assyrians or the Syrians or any of the Ishmaelites or any of the other nations that are round about there. Go ahead.
Led away captive, and he carried them over the waters,
Mm-hmm.
and so came they into another land.
Right, which was the Assyrian captivity. Go ahead.
But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitudes of the heathens
Keep going.
and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Exactly. And this is very important. That verse right there, verse 41, it says, those 10 tribes amongst themselves, they took this counsel that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Meaning we need to go and just do a complete reset, go somewhere where we could start fresh, because we can't go back to our original land because they conquered us and took us out of that land. But what we can do is escape this place and go so far away that they won't be able to chase us. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
So 42,
Mm-hmm.
that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Which they never kept in their own land. So the whole idea was to go over to this side of the globe and to try to keep God's laws. All right. And so what we'll do is we'll start to show you in some of these books that that's actually what the Native Americans were trying to do originally. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say they were completely correct in how they did things, but there's going to be traces of the Israelite culture amongst the North, Central, and South American tribes. This cannot be denied. It's not denied in history. It's not denied in scripture. It actually agrees completely with the stance of the Isupk, like we've been teaching since 1969. But really what we are is the reawakening of that very same ancient culture in the latter days. And it's going to tell you that. Go ahead.
Verse 44.
Mm-hmm.
For the most high, then for the most high then shewed signs for them, and hell stood the flood till they were passed over.
You know what's so beautiful about that? When you're a navigator on the ocean, the biggest blessing that you could ever have when navigating the ocean is have smooth waters. So the Most High held still the flood, meaning all these raging waves that can reach, hundreds of feet high, that can tip your boat over, just cause all types of damage to your equipment and everything as you're trying to come across. God actually literally said, hey, listen, this is going to be smooth for y'all. It's going to take you a long time to do it. I'm going to show you signs. You know what those signs are? The stars. You know how you know that's the case? Look at the Native Americans. Look at the Mayans and the Aztecs. They had understanding of the solar cycle, of astrology in that sense. Not astrology like we do today, but the simple understanding that the stars are always going to be consistent in the sky based off of the certain time of the year. So they knew which direction was west based off of the stars that were in the sky. They were able to navigate the ocean at night. So they're navigating at night, course correct at nighttime, and during the day they just try to keep that same direction and just try to keep going and keep going and keep going. And then at nighttime they say, oh, okay, look, okay, so this is what it is. We're going to keep going and just hang on to that. Of course, it took quite a while, so they had to be very prepared for this journey, but it'll tell you how long it took. So keep reading.
45.
Mm-hmm.
For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
So this was a long journey. They escaped from the Assyrians, built boats, got the supplies ready, escaped, okay, by way of the river. And that's even what it says in verse 43, real quick. It just says, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. So they escaped using a pathway that most likely led them south. Then they had to curl around Africa and then just continue west, right? So when it says that it took them a year and a half, that if you're moving a lot of boats like that, you're probably not moving too fast, especially in the year 700 to 800 BC. So it wasn't like you had nuclear powered, cruise vessels that were able to move at a really steady pace. They really depended on the wind and the paddling, and it took them a year and a half to get all the way to this side of the globe. And the name of this America in the Bible is called, go ahead and read the rest of that verse 45.
Yeah. And the same region is called
Arsareth. So Bible actually refers to this land as Arsareth, which means that mankind had never dwelt there before, or it stands for newfound land. Is what Arsareth means. So Arsareth means newfound land. Okay. I'll let you go ahead and write that down real quick. Let me check the chat one time. Hey, Most High Christ, for y'all that have tuned in, lock in with us on this, man. Lock in with us. What I'm trying to get y'all to see is that the history books that we bring into the school that we like to read have some very interesting perspectives that should be considered, because even amongst the other nations within their own publishers and scribes and scholars, they had a lot of contention amongst themselves because some people were trying to suppress the truth about the Native Americans while others were trying to expose the truth and to talk about what the Native Americans were doing over on this side of the globe. And it's super important. And the most important scripture out of this whole group is verse 46. Go ahead.
Verse 46. Then dwelt they there until the later time.
Mm-hmm.
And now when they shall begin to come.
Right. And this is dealing with the prophecy, because the whole entire chapter 13 is about the return of Christ and how he destroys all of the armies of the earth. If you read from 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and 1 all the way to verse 40, you're going to see that Christ comes against all the armies of the world. So as the time it actually starts to talk about the 10 tribes coming back over, this is when Christ, who is the bringer of peace, but through war, we clearly see that in the Bible, that then the Most High is going to still the waters once more so that they can start to come back home to their original land. So there's a time for that. You understand? Go ahead and drop that. Let's go ahead and get back to the book, the 10 tribes, the view of the American Indians. And let's get... Go to page 53. I believe that do I have anything marked on page 53? Let's get that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So just read the mark.
Yeah.
Okay, page 53. So like it's titled Religion and Religious Rights.
Okay.
When Mr. Penn had landed on the American shores and had held his first intercourse with the natives of it, he was exceedingly struck with their appearance and manner.
So the Spanish, when they landed, they saw just how the mannerisms of the Native Americans were. Let's go ahead and read. This is when he says intercourse, it's not talking about sex, it's talking about actual interactions. So the first interactions amongst the Spanish and the natives went like this when it was more of a peaceable member. When this occurred, this was after everything that Bernal Diaz has gone through. This was when there was a little bit more peace amongst the Spanish and the Native American tribes because they've already established a foothold here in the Americas. And so when he came across the Native Americans, he was able to actually study them a little bit more in depth. And this is what he discovered. So let's go ahead and read that.
He found them very different from any people he had met with anywhere else, and thought them unlike any nation he had read of. He saw them in their state of native purity, under Salakia.
He said that they had native purity.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Underbased by slavery and uncontaminated with the voices of Europeans.
So this is a particular tribe that he's coming across that hadn't been put into slavery yet. And so this is what he's noticing about the people that hadn't been conquered yet. Okay, go ahead.
In a letter to his friend in England, he wrote, "I found them with countenances much like the Jewish race."
Oh, wait, what did he say?
I found them with countenances much like the Jewish race.
It's like the Jewish race. Go ahead.
And their children have so lively a resemblance of them that a man would think himself in Duke's Place or Berry Street in London when he seeth them.
Keep going.
They wore earrings and nose jewelry, bracelets on their arms and legs, rings on their fingers, necklaces made of highly polished shells found in their rivers and on their coasts. The females tied up their hair behind.
So they had hairstyles. They had style.
Yeah.
It sounded like because they're talking about the bracelets, the earrings, the nose earring, the nose piercings, things like that. These are things that, especially because it sounds like it's describing more of like the feminine. It's talking about the women, right? Yeah. And it's describing them as very dainty and very feminine and very beautiful. And they're saying that these people look Middle Eastern. That's what he's saying. He's saying they look like they're Jewish. And the understanding of Jewish back then is a lot different than it is now. But one thing you have to know for sure is that there's definitely some strange going on there. He's noticing these people all the way on this side of the globe. They're unlike anybody that he's ever seen before or even read about or ever heard of. And it's so fascinating to him that he had to go and write back to his comrades back home and say, listen, man, dog, these people are fantastic. These people, they got it going on. They looking fly. They dress nice. They smell like, look, what else does it say? What else does it say about them?
The females tied up their hair behind, work wands around their heads, and ornamented them with shells and feathers, and wore strings of beads around several parts of their body. Around their occasions, they had shells and turkey spurs to tinkle like little bells as they walk.
Yeah, so like I said, real dainty, real fashionable, right? That's one thing about Native American, Hispanic, like Latino women is that they like to have accessories. They like to have little trinkets and things that let them stand out, that just show their it's almost like there's a sense of royalty in it. It's still actually very humble. It actually is, because it's just like I said, it's an appreciation of the world around them. It's not like back then possessions were not used to boast about. They were to appreciate the earth and the things that the earth had and been able to give them. It was not necessarily so much like a thing of pride or anything like that. Even something like this, it's not about flossing exactly. I don't know. Judah likes to floss though. That's for damn sure. Scripture agrees with that. But what it really is, it's just an accessory the earth provides, and they understand that that's not like the most important part of their culture. What's more important is their mannerisms and the way that they act and the righteousness that they obtain. That makes those accessories just a great accommodation to everything that they already are as a people, and not the main message of who they are. You know what I'm saying? But the societies, when they say societies become very materialistic, it's materialistic because people try to make their personality what they got instead of having what they got as just an afterthought to who they are as a person, that just kind of boosts the overall aura of that person. You know what I'm saying? So and the Native Americans were masterful at having that level of vibe to them that it just enticed everybody that came across them. Go ahead.
And it's when I saw the waist beads, you know, and from it coming from Native Americans, it just goes back to say, you know, everybody taking our culture. Because you'll have the Arab, the Indian, they use it for their belly dancers.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
but they the black, you know, our culture, they don't say it's from our culture. They say it's from energy and, you know, on the weight loss kick, you know, to see,
Right.
you know, how so you can get them when they snap, you know, or even Christians, they'll use it as a spiritual deity, saying, okay, if it snap, you got a demon, you know, things like that, or, you know, you need to get anointed. So it's just crazy. It just really came as an accessory from our culture, and people took it and made it a mass market.
That's why I'm saying even something as simple as the language, the Lashon Kodash being used for the signet of David, is it being his initials, and it's not an actual star. It's more of like, it's just a way that he was being clever with his name. Because if he wrote his name, right, the Da, the Wa, and the Da, he's just putting the name on top. It's like sandwiching the name. And that's the shield of David. It didn't have nothing to do with none of this goofy, you know, mystical, you know, mathematics or nothing like that. It's a lot more simplistic than what, like, people think. Like, one thing about Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we actually like to keep it simple. We like to keep it real simple. We don't have to be too, like, life don't have to be that complicated. We like to just enjoy life and not try to overdo things. You understand? We do like to relax. We do like to, you know, take our time to rejuvenate when we need to. And the beautiful thing about what we're seeing about the Native Americans is that their default way of life is very calm, is very, very cool, very collect, very much in control, right? Being in control is just such a strong power. It's something that you naturally have. The more wisdom, the more understanding, the more culturally sound that you are, and more in tune with the Most High. It's just like what will happen naturally over time is that you'll give off that aura that people just will not. They won't be able to do anything but to be intrigued by you and to be attracted towards you and to want to know more about you. That's why even just something as simple as how we dress with our fringes and everything like that, when we're out in public, people want to take photos with us. They want to walk up to us. They want to interact with us. Some people are afraid of us. Then they come to find out when they get to talking with us, we're actually real cool, because we're men that can adapt to any specific situation. That comes through having that level of calm, having that level of adaptability to turn up when we need to turn up, and to be able to, like, control the fire within. You know what I'm saying? That's something that the Native Americans actually talk about. So was there a little bit more on page 53? We got some more good stuff too, though. Yeah, give me in the book of Isaiah chapter 3, verse 18 real quick. Isaiah 3 and 18. I just want to talk briefly about the women of Israel, because we done read about the Native American women. I want to follow up with that by reading the Bible and talking about how the Native American, that the Israelite women, which are the same people basically, how we fell from what we used to be. Okay, let's get verse 18 right there. This is the judgment on the daughters of Zion, is what it's talking about right now. So go ahead and get verse 18. Oh, you know what? Start at verse 16. Yeah.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 3, verse 16. Moreover, the Lord said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton
Mm-hmm.
eyes, walking and menacing as they go,
Right, walking and mincing as they go. Go ahead.
and making a tinkling with their feet.
Now, this is different than what we read about the Native Americans, because now those accessories have become the priority because they're acting haughty instead of righteous, because now they're flaunting their ability to be powerful as a woman with the beautiful features and the curves and all that. They've taken on the role of then trying to take command over the man and to use men. And it's a different approach to the way the Native American women were, where they still had all that beauty and femininity, but without the righteousness aspect of it. And that's what the Most High is judging. This is about all of Israel. This is just specifically talking about the women, but I need y'all to understand that all of chapter 3 is talking about the Lord's judgment over Israel. You understand? So you could start from verse 1 later on and read through that, and you're going to see that the Most High is definitely putting down the men of Israel for the things that they've done wrong. But it's actually referring to some of the things that have happened amongst the women. And so we're going to see a complete contrast how Israel being judged in the time of Isaiah. We notice that we know from the book of Second Esdras that the Native Americans, or the 10 tribes of Israel, the northern tribes, came over here because they wanted to follow God's laws. That's what it says, right? So they came over here to attempt to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments. But over time, what happened was the conquistadors that came over, they saw how beautiful our women were in their natural element. But then as the Europeans started to deal with us more and more, started to try to get our women drunk, try to get them to leave their husbands, some of them even going as far as to murdering their husbands or taking the youthful women and then raising them up and doing all manner of things that they wanted to them. It changed them. You understand? But we got to see a glimpse in that book about how they were when they were not being affected by the Europeans. Now, you go and you read this right here in go ahead and jump down to verse 18 now. Isaiah 3 and 18.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 3, verse 18.
Mm-hmm.
In that day, the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet,
Mm-hmm.
and their cows,
Mm-hmm.
and their round tires like the moon.
What do you think that's talking about? Yeah. He's gonna, the Lord. You don't want the Lord to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because all of our sisters, they had it like that. Now, some of them definitely still do. They're known for that. But what happened, you have to understand, if the Lord literally will take your behind from you, if you're wicked, you'll be born into another body later on, right? And then you won't have all them features you had in that life where you used all those things to take advantage of everything. Think about this generation right now. You got women that are strutting, showing naked ass on Instagram, OnlyFans, all this kind of stuff, right? Let them, if they perish in this life and come back and still have to work on themselves and work on their spirit, they might come back in a life where where their hairline going back. My hairline going back, but it's natural for men. It's not natural for women to have that happen. That's what the Bible says. It's natural for a man to lose his hair. That's something that's going to happen damn near to every one of us. But when it comes to women, that's like their natural head covering, which is how the Most High made for women to have that natural head covering. It's telling them that they're going to have a scab. The crown, it says, therefore the Lord will smite with the scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion. That was in verse 17. He's talking about how they start to go bald headed. That's why black women are the most known for buying what? Wigs, extensions, because the hair is just not growing like it needs to grow. You understand? And it's an echo of a punishment that God puts on us. I know it sounds like, I'm not trying to sound mean or anything like that. We're reading the scriptures here. So when we read the scriptures, we have to not be emotional about like trying to get that to put us down and make it seem like the priest is bringing out the scriptures is trying to attack anybody, because that's really not what it is. We're analyzing the Bible and we see how it relates to today, and then we can then know that because that's the end result, let's go ahead and do the right thing. Let's go ahead and benefit from all the blessings that come from taking the right path. You understand what I'm saying? But we do need to see these things so that we can see just how far we've all failed. But let's go ahead and continue right there. It says they're round tires like the moon. And then verse 19.
The chains and bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the leg.
The ornaments of the leg. We just read about that where the Native American women was at. Right? Keep going.
And the headband.
I don't know about you, but when a sister wear a headband, like where it go like this, and then the hair, man, that look good. It looks good. You know what I'm saying? When women are dressed like when they got the ornaments and tinklings on their feet. You know what I mean? Wearing some discreet clothes like a sundress or something, nothing too crazy, but you know, the way Black and Hispanic women are, you're gonna see some curves there, you know. You gotta damn near put on a New York jacket to cover up all that, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, bro. Go ahead.
The bonnets and the ornaments of legs, and the headbands, and the tablets, and the earrings, the rings and nose jewels, the changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles.
So all the accessories. Go ahead, jump down to verse 24.
And it shall come to pass that instead of a sweet smell, there shall be a stink.
Go ahead.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not good.
And instead of a girdle, a rent. And instead was set there.
Instead of well set hair.
Instead of a girdle, a rent. And instead of well set hair, baldness. And instead of a stomacher.
Yeah, like instead of having a nice sculpted stomach, you're gonna have the cellulite. I mean, here's the thing, man. The Lord knows what women wants to look like. He knows like you got like when you're in that youthful stage from like 20 to like 25, 30. That's when it's like you looking in the mirror, you're like, oh yeah, I'm in my prime now. But once you hit that wall at age 30, with all the especially all the women that grew up as party animals, going to the club, having multiple husbands and all this kind of stuff, having baby daddies, 3 or 4 baby daddies, right? What happens is no more you're gonna have that sculptured stomach. You're gonna have, what does it say? A girding of sackcloth.
Yeah.
What it's like muffin top. What it's talking about. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. It happens. It happens even with righteous women. But the discipline that comes from the post pregnancy, a woman that's in the right mindset, she's gonna be eating healthy. She ain't gonna be eating pork. Her blood pressure is not gonna be bad. She's gonna be moving. She's gonna be a righteous Proverbs 31 woman. She's gonna be exercising. She's gonna be getting back to her form, right? There's a levels to it, and so the scriptures is just telling you that there's a snowball effect where the unrighteousness leads to lack of discipline, leads to lack of cleanliness, right? Which leads to the smell and all that kind of stuff, which leads to a lot of stress, which is why sometimes women have started to lose hair because of all the stress that comes from guilt and depression and abandonment, anxiety and things like that, right? So all of that ties together. And it becomes our experience. And so it's important for us to read it in the scripture so that we can see just how it looks on the other side of the spectrum. But I want you to go back to the Northern American tribes book and continue. I think there's a little bit more on where you're at. So go ahead and let's get a little bit more on that. The other one, the view of the American Indians. That was on page 53. I think it's page 53.
Yeah. So you want me to keep reading?
Was there more?
Talk about Hebrew women in this part.
Okay, go ahead. That's part I wanted to see. Go ahead.
The females tied up their hairs behind work wands around their heads and ornamented them with the feathers, the shell's feathers, and wore string beads around several parts of their body. Around them occasions, they had shells and turkey spurs to tinkle like little bells as they walked. Of these things we read among the fantastic peculiarity.
That's right.
Yeah, peculiarities of the Hebrew women in the days of their indigency. Isaiah 3:18.
We just read that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what they wrote. They made that comparison. Go ahead.
In that day, the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their cauls and their round tires like the moon, the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of their legs and their hands, and the tablets and the earrings, the rings and the nose jewelry. The common dress was a flame garment or mantle ornamented on the upper edge by a narrow strip of fur, and at the lower edge by fringes and tassels.
It says what? The lower edge by fringes
and tassels.
And then just for your notes, go ahead and write just to support that. That is the fringes scripture. Where's that at? Deuteronomy? Numbers 15, 38, and 40. 38 through 40. That's what you write. So right under where it says that section, remember, View of the American Indians, page 53. They reference Isaiah chapter 3, verse 18, and comparing how our beautiful women were before being affected and brought into slavery by the Europeans. Hold on one second. And then it goes to describe their garments and having ornaments and having fringes, which then you write Numbers chapter 15, verses 38 through 40, which clearly states that Israel was ordered to put fringes on their garments, and that is exactly what the Native Americans were known for in their garments. Go ahead.
So, like, if I may, sir, also, like in these powwows, when these tribes have these ceremonies,
yeah,
and the sisters have these certain dresses that they wear, they're called jingle dresses, and if I'm not mistaken, you can find that in the scriptures also.
Yeah, you're talking about like with you said Jean, or you talking about
jingle?
Like, Jing? Oh yeah, we just read that.
Right.
We just read that.
Right, but like the pomegranates and stuff like that, and that they used to wear in the scriptures.
Yeah,
that's similar to what the sisters wear when they have their ceremonies and they do their dances.
That's why they use shells and stuff like that, like pearls, because it was like a reference to a pomegranate, which is like a sphere, and pearls are something that's very difficult to get. And obviously, I hope that they wouldn't eat the oyster that the pearls would come from, but they would most likely have it. And if they had a pearl in there, those are actually very valuable, right? Very valuable, not much like silver, you know what I'm saying, or gold and things like that. But they used to have so many of them that they would make necklaces out of them because it was a stylistic thing. It would show royalty, it would show humility, it would show appreciation of the resources of the earth, rather than it being, oh yeah, I got a floss on y'all one time. No, it was everybody was like that. All the women were dressed like that. The women, and they all got along together too. You're gonna find out. Was there more on that page? Or was that the end of it? Where it's talking about the fringes? Is it marked under the highlight, or is it just like keep going? Oh, okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get page 61. Go ahead and jump to page 61, and the part that I got highlighted right there, I want to read that too. You don't like this part right here. This is crazy. Read this again. Just real quick before we continue, show on the camera just the book. I don't know if it's gonna be out of focus. We're gonna see. Yeah, about like right there. That's the View of the Native American Indians. We've been reading from there. We've also read some interesting stuff in that other book. We're going on page 61. So in your notes, go ahead and put page 61. this is going to be talking about the love of the holy people, or basically the chosen people that the Native Americans believe themselves to be. Yeah, rubies. Exactly. Rubies is really high valuable. You're right. Absolutely, Adawan. Go ahead.
They profess an opinion exactly similar to that of the Jews,
Go ahead.
that the Great Spirit is the head of their state.
The Great Spirit is the head of their state, meaning the Most High is the absolute authority, right? Go ahead.
And has chosen them from all the rest of mankind.
That sound like Deuteronomy, was it 6? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Deuteronomy, where it talks about the Most High chose Israel to be above all nations that are upon the face of the earth. 7 verse 6. Go ahead.
As his elect and
Great
beloved
Spirit.
people.
Yeah, the Great Spirit's elected and adored people. Go ahead.
This is a circumstance related not to a few, but to all who have had an intercourse with them.
Right. They were not afraid to express what we would consider today as racism. They just considered it to be favoritism of the Lord. It's not about being. It's just what they knew in their culture. It's because they are the Israelites. They knew that they were Israelites. They knew it. That's why they had fringes. That's why they had ceremonies. That's why they did all these things. It's not a surprise for us. That's why when we talk about the things that we talk about, we're saying it with the confidence of hundreds of years of understanding and with of millennia of understanding. It's not about right now. It's about us educating you and you not being able to refute it. You may not like it. You may try your best to dispute it. And I'm talking about the people in the comment section on a lot of our videos. There's no refuting what history has clearly solidified as truth. But the thing is that now there's multiple truths according to this society. This society offers you this truth or this truth. You could be a liberal, you could be a Republican, and each side holds a certain truth that is absolute if you just stick with content that agrees with that. I get that. In a sense, we kind of do that. But the problem is, when it comes to absolute truth, there can only be one. There can only be one actual certainty. And it comes through here. It's funneled through here. And the beautiful thing is the Most High is not using the prominent and rich. He's not using the people that are high status in society. He says he's going to give them, he says the meek shall inherit the earth. That he would take the fools to confound the wise. The people that you look past in society as if there were nobodies and ignore them, but then come to find out they're now priests and prophets under the Most High's authority, the Great Spirit that chose them. That's why I like reading this, because it's like the Native Americans, they had that same game all them years ago. They knew what was up. Go ahead.
Which will lead to the knowledge of it, nor can it well be accounted for if they were not derived from the same stock as the Jews.
Yeah.
Such is their religious pride, and they hold the white people in contempt, applying to them in their set speeches a word.
What they have to say about the Edomites. Go ahead.
Which signifies nothing.
They said that the other nations are as nothing. We read about that in, was that Isaiah chapter 40, verse 15 through 17, where the nations are as a drop of a bucket and are considered as nothing. He says that there's a word they use for the other nations, the Caucasian. He says that the word that they use means nada, nothing, nilch, zip. You know what I'm saying? Cerro in Spanish. Nothing. So that's what they considered the Europeans to be. Yeah. Yeah. Was there a little bit more that was highlighted? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
But they flatter themselves with the name, the beloved people, or the holy people. And in their addresses, they enlarge in boasting terms on the happiness of their country and the special favors shown it by God.
All right, now go to page 63. Got some real good stuff on page 63. So what he just said was they had boastful names for amongst themselves. The level of brotherhood amongst the Native Americans was so much so that they considered every other part of mankind to be as nothing. You understand what I'm saying? And one thing that you have to know is that Native Americans also saw the so-called African Americans that came over here as brothers in a lot of cases. Not every case, but in a lot of cases, they saw them as family. They saw them as beloved people. That's exactly why the same people that we knew as the Aztecs would then go on to defend the African Americans that were enslaved and were kept at the Alamo and around Texas. And we're not standing for it. And so the real history of the Alamo is very much so rooted in that same mentality of the love of their people. And they saw the African Americans, or the children of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, as family, because they held on to just mind you, it had been about 15 to 1700 years since they saw each other. So you had a lot of time of separation, but a lot of the cultures that were even established here, from the Olmecs to the Incas and Mayans, had a lot of dark-skinned people also. So it was not new that dark-skinned people were over here. Although, of course, the Native Americans did have a lot of different shades of brown. Go ahead.
That I have a precept.
Go ahead.
Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 50. Oh, Slakia, verse 56. Well, Slakia, let me start from
if you want, you can go put the scriptures on the screen for the audience to see.
Come on, sir.
But go ahead and read it.
Can I read it though?
Yeah. We gotta make sure he has the mic though.
Come on. Second Ezra chapter 6, verse Slakia. I'm gonna start from 54.
Go ahead.
Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all.
Yep.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
Exactly. Now get to the part where it talks about the other nations.
Come on. Verse 55. And all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come from Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing.
Yeah, that. You see, it's revolutionary scriptures like that is why the Catholic Church didn't want that to be in the Bible, because they low-key felt in their spirit that it really actually applied to them being as nothing. So they had to remove that from the Bible. But the actual people that it's referring to as the beloved people, the Native Americans knew that was them.
Right.
Blacks and Hispanics, Native Americans, we come from a culture that God loves, absolutely loves, but it is at the expense of the rest of the world. And that's not us being mean about it. We're just reading it in the Bible. That's why it's referring to it in Second Esdras, but Second Esdras is actually referring to Isaiah. What do we say? Isaiah 40, verse 15. Absolutely good on that. You're on page 63. Let's read more of that, because there's more to it. It's just, it gets even more crazy as you keep reading it. It's insane. Go ahead.
Page 63. The American Indian, especially Cherokee and Choctaws, have in their place of worship, as they call them, the beloved squares.
So they have something called the beloved squares. Go ahead and read about that.
A very humble resemblance of the cherubim which overshadowed the mercy seat.
Overshadowed the mercy seat. This is referred to in, I believe, the book of Ezekiel. Go ahead.
Adar saw in one of these squares 2 white painted eagles carved out of poplar wood, and the wings stretched out, standing in a corner, 5 feet from the ground.
So it stands in the corners 5 feet from the ground. This and it even tells you something really important. I want you to read up to where it says it. Look, keep going. I'll explain here in a second.
Close to the red and white imperial seats, and within were painted with a white clay the figure of a man with a buffalo horn, expressive of power, and that of a panther, which is the nearest of the animals of America to a lion.
Keep going.
Compare Exodus 37 and 9, Ezekiel chapter 10. Each of the cherubims, according to the prophets, had the head and face of a man, the likeness of an eagle about the shoulders, which expanded wings, the neck, mane, and breast of a lion, and the feet of an ox. See Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 5.
Because it says that the cherubim has straight feet, then it goes to describe the different faces, and some of them look like the animals. Yeah. The Native Americans had, in what they called the sacred square, a representation of a cherubim from the book of Ezekiel. That's not a coincidence. That is an exact description of a cherubim, which has the wings, right? Has the whole entire figure, but this is the most important part about it. Keep reading.
In these squares, they dance on the water night, singing hallelujah.
Right. Keep going.
Also, Yohi.
Keep going.
Why?
Yahweh.
Oh, Yahweh.
Yeah. So they were singing Yahweh. Now, they weren't calling the cherubim Yahweh. Notice that and it's going to tell you that. It says that they did not worship it, but recognize it as a part of their culture. Look, keep going. It's going to show you that. Now, again, before you read that, the Spanish were like, oh, they making idols. They worshiping idols. Bro, do you not read the Bible? Do you not see that what they actually constructed is from the Bible, and they're not worshiping it? That they have it around there, just kind of chilling there as something for them to have a visual understanding of something that comes from their ancient culture, that comes from a description from their prophets. This was held on to for hundreds of years, and they still managed to keep that tradition of knowing what that looked like. That's why it says the panther, because in the Bible, and Ezekiel describes it as the face of a lion, a big cat. But the big cats on this side of the globe, we don't have lions over here, unless they're exported from Africa or what have you. We got jaguars, we got panthers though, we got mountain lions. So they just, I think we got cougars, yeah. So we got big cats over here. They're not exactly like lions though, but they chose the panther as the one that's on this side of the globe. So you'll see the panther as something that's endeared amongst the Native American tribes as well. If you ever seen the movie Apocalypto, I think there's a moment right there with a panther and having that theme of some kind of a resemblance of cultural significance. Go ahead.
What's the Panthers football team? South Carolina?
Yeah, it's South Carolina.
So, and they have a lot of native.
Oh, but that's interesting to know. That's interesting. Damn, I didn't even think about that. That's actually surprising. Yeah, no, that's interesting. There's a lot of football teams that have that Redskins. I think they actually there's Native Americans in Washington that are demanding that Redskin actually be made back to be their original symbol. They want Redskin to be they actually want Redskin to be the thing, even though it was originally seen as kind of like a derogatory thing. The Chiefs, right? The Chief got that little arrowhead, right? And that's just something that you see. You see that. It's whether it's respectful or not, it's something that is very common. In fact, the Oklahoma City Thunder even have a jersey that has Native American colorings and stuff on it because there's a lot of people out there that are Native, so they pay homage to them through that respect. Keep going though, a little bit more in there.
But never discovered any signs of a donation of these figures.
It says, read that again. It says what?
But never discovered any signs of a donation.
Of like adoration, meaning they never worship it.
Adoration.
Yeah, go ahead.
When the Israelites encamped, we learned of them that they were usually arranged into 4 divisions
Mm-hmm.
under 4 different standards, namely
Right.
a man, an eagle, a lion, and an ox,
Mm-hmm.
which 4 emblematic figures, whatever they may mean,
Mm-hmm.
were found roughly drawn into this and other similar templates.
So that's
Temples.
simple. So the sacred squares in the Native American tribes actually did have the depiction of the cherubims from the prophets. So that's what we got out of that. Was there more on that?
I got a question. So when they say when the Israelites encamped, we learned of them. What they mean by that?
That's so the Spanish friars actually talking about the Native Americans as they are Israelites. So when they encamped, we learned of them. Meaning we had the opportunity to learn these things from them when we saw that they had their little encampment. So that they kept these traditions and things like that. But these were not traditions of men. These were traditions that were kept in the Bible. Now, does the Bible say to actually set up a sacred square? I don't recall it saying to actually set something like that up, but it is a sign that they understood that to be a part of the Bible, of the part of their historical records. So that, like I said, there's things that they did that kept the traditions of the Israelites. There's things that they did that may have been, influenced by the leadership, that may have been a little bit ill-advised. I'm not going to say everything was perfect, but we're not going to go as far as to say what they've been doing over there in Spain and trying to claim that the Native Americans were savages and that were cannibals and didn't have any decorum and were, basically people that did human sacrifice and all that. Some of that did happen under ill leadership, but you can't deny that a lot of these things that we're seeing that went the other direction were definitely tribal civilizations that had been under a much more well thought out and well planned and well executed culmination of maintaining the culture of Israel. So this is absolutely agreeing with what we've been reading in the scriptures this whole time. Finally, we got a little time. Yeah, we got time. Let's go page 65. Page 65 is going to talk about the high priest. Is absolutely important right here as well. You can just start wherever the first one's at. There might be a couple things that we want to address on this page here. Yeah, go ahead and read some of that right there.
Okay. In every town or tribes is a high priest, and the others are inferior ranks.
So there's rank and order. All right, you have chiefs, you have officers, you have that whatever they named it. They may have different titles, but ultimately there's rank and order within the tribes. Go ahead.
The oldest presides in spiritual things. He maintains great influence among his people.
Right. Keep going. That kind of like General Mahyman, Commanding General Yohana. You know what I'm saying? Or captains of captains of 10,000, captains of 13,000. So we got captains over entire sectors of the United States and other places where we're at, and then we have ones that are even above them, which is something that we take. So sometimes when you get so used to it, you kind of, I don't want to say that you do, but sometimes what happens is your brain tricks you into thinking and overlooking just how much gravity that actually is. So we have to really appreciate that level of order and instruction throughout our ranks, because as we continue to build our own wisdom base and knowledge, we'll begin to have even more abundant access to the wisdom that comes from the rank and structure. Because again, that rank and structure is there because it comes from the Most High down to Christ, down to us, you know what I'm saying, in that exact order. So it goes in that sense, and that's why we have to respect that rank and order structure. Go ahead.
The oldest presides in spiritual things.
Yeah, so the elder, he's the one that is the when it comes to spiritual things, he's the one that gives the ultimate authority over it, because the people trust him and because he's been well versed and knowledge and everything that he needs to know, so that everything can be passed down correctly, and so that that standard gets held throughout all levels. Okay, go ahead.
He maintains great influence among his people,
Mm-hmm.
and the Great Council never determines on any point of the importance without his advice.
Damn. So ultimately, everything runs through the council of him, and and he has the final say over different matters that happen. Sounds just like how things are done here in the UPK, right? And it's not that, like, it's not like we read this book and copied that. No, it's because we learned the Bible and did that. It just so happens that the Native Americans did that too, because they are also Israelites. You know what I'm saying? Whether they know it completely today or not, we know that there is a standard that has to be rekept, restructured, reawakened amongst our tribes, so that we can return back to that level of security amongst each other, and that level of brotherhood amongst each other, for the sake of all of Israel. You know what I'm saying? But seeing the Native Americans have that level of specifics when it came to rank and order is a beautiful thing to see. Just like how we read earlier about how the elders had prophecies of reawakening in the latter days. Right? Let's go ahead and keep going, though. There's a little more there.
The people firmly believe that they have communion with invisible spirits.
Damn. They believe that they have communion. What is that? That's their thoughts. It's the ability to go to war with the communion is referring to a connection, right? That's really all it just means. And that connection is the ability to have righteous thoughts and to go that route, and to have the wisdom, so that you can have control over your decisions from the thoughts that enter your mind, because constantly good and bad is always entering our mind. And what we come to find out is when we start to be able to successfully connect with the good thoughts, that's where you feel that level of connection spiritually. But you only know that that's what it really is if it agrees with the scriptures. That's absolutely vital to understanding that. You understand? The Native Americans, they lived more so off of verbal tradition passing. So a lot of it was really faith based. But there were cases of writing and literature amongst the tribes. Keeping of the Lashuan Kodash, for example, which is found in North, Central, and South America in different places. That's already been proven. You have Smithsonian artifacts in the Smithsonian right now showing the Lashuan Kodash, just like how we teach on the Friday classes. So there's really no denying it at this point. And probably, if anything, what will happen as time goes on is there going to be more proof, more things shown out, more revelations of the ancient culture of the Americas, which is just going to further pinpoint it even more so for the whole world to see that these are in fact people of the nation of Israel, and that they need to be protected. They need to be taken care of. They shouldn't be treated bad. And even though when it comes to those from Central and South America too, also are Native Americans, they're indigenous. And that they too are chosen people from the Lord that are to be treated fairly and not to be taken advantage of, because doing so will set whoever does those ill things to them up for destruction and extinction. Keep going if there's more.
Yeah. Right. So the people firmly believe that they have communion with the visible spirits, who have some share in the government of human affairs, and also of the elements. Their incense is the smoke of tobacco, which they puff about on some occasions and blow towards the sun. And
so they actually, you can see right there that there is something that they did that was a mistake. That doesn't coincide with the scriptures, because we don't do that in the scriptures. In fact, when you read in the book of, I believe it's Ezekiel, when it's talking about the strange incense and that sort of thing, those were things that the angel said, come and see. And he was actually showing the prophet of the time, he's showing them that those were things that were considered to be abominations. So what happens when you don't have the actual Bible in front of you is that it's like when you was little, you ever played telephone? with like your classmates? They never had that where like the teacher gives one of the students something that they need to say or like a sentence, and he passes it to the next person and whisper in their ear. That person, by the time you get to the last student, they saying a whole different sentence. So it's already a miracle in itself that a lot of what the Native Americans did was biblically sound by the time you got from like 700 BC, 800, 900 BC when they started to arrive here, and then all the way up until the 1600s AD when people were actually able to communicate with us and study us and write down in their journals about what they saw from us. So when I see something like them smoking tobacco and that kind of stuff, I'll understand it from the perspective of, okay, a lot of time has passed. They may not have been able to hold on to everything because it's not like they literally had the records with them like that. Because remember, when they got it, when they left Assyrian captivity, they were likely not able to have the records like that and have the Ark of the. Well, they would go on to create some form of an Ark of a Covenant, but they needed their whole entire, like I said, the whole entire structure of the Bible to remain perfectly on point. So there was going to be mistakes. That's why people see they were bound to make those mistakes. In fact, the reason why the Most High allowed for the conquistadors to overtake America was because of the things that they were doing that were off. But that didn't mean that they didn't try. And what we're reading about when we read these things is their effort to try to maintain it. And that's the beauty of the UPK, is that now we're putting it all back together so that we can come correct for the Lord and for our people. Go ahead.
That's heavy. You just said that last part because I just put some. Well, I was just thinking because, well, we didn't read the next part.
Yeah, go ahead. There's even more.
Yeah, I mean, this next part though, I want to comment on when
go
I
ahead.
read it. Okay, blowing towards the sun, and they reckon their time by the new moon, of which they are great observers, and rejoice at it coming as the Hebrews did before them.
Right, because it even tells you that's what the moon, sun and moon was for, is for signs, for feasts. It calls them signs, just like how when it says in Second Ezra, the Most High showed them signs and stilled the waters of the flood. It's saying the Most High showed them signs, which is the sun, the moon, the stars, all those things, which the Scripture says are instruments for Israel to understand, and instruments of the armies above, is what it says in the Apocrypha, I believe. But it tells you that those things were used to understand the timing, the time of the solar cycle, the time of the year, and that's really all it was. So, like, even when you get to the Mayan and Aztec calendar, it wasn't on no spooky stuff. It was just in concordance with how the sun revolves around, like how the sun has its own cycle as well. You understand? So that's a very advanced level of understanding of the world that you're in, of the solar system that we're in. So it's very impressive to have been able to do that. That's not something that savages would have been able to do. These are very intelligent people that we're reading about when we're reading about the Native Americans, because they are the children of Israel. Go ahead. What you got?
Because I had asked about the new moon celebration, because other Israelite groups celebrate the new moon. We don't, but I could kind of see. I mean, it's a beautiful thing how the Isupk, the knowledge, what was being taught to me, like it's sticking and gelling.
Yeah.
Because
you notice how the Passover is never on the same exact day every year?
Yeah.
It's because it's based off of like what the Scripture says. There's the sun, the solstice, which is there's a summer and winter solstice. And the summer solstice is when day and night are the exact same amount of time. This only happens twice a year. But it's the first new moon after that summer solstice that the beginning of the month starts. So then you're able to you count the number of days, just like how the Passover instructs. And so we calculate the Passover based off of that, and try to get it situated in a way to have most of the nation of Israel will be able to come together. So it's about brotherhood in that sense, but it's very much so exact with how the Scriptures is telling us to do it, which is why it's never the same exact date every single year, because we are going with what the Scripture says, and it is based off of those cycles. the new moon and that sort of stuff. It's not that we worship the new moon. It's just that, again, if people spook things out too much, really all you're supposed to do is have it there as a sign for the months and the feast days and things like that, as the scripture gives us according to the law, right? There's a little bit more too. So go. What else we got? Got a little extra time here. I'm gonna go a little like 5 minutes over because we started 5 minutes after 12. Yeah, let's read that.
All right. They have also a most holy place in which none but the priest can enter.
That sounds like the Holy of Holies. That's the tabernacle. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is partitioned off by a mud wall, and in it are deposits their consecrated vessels.
Mm-hmm.
To approach this sacred spot would occasion danger to themselves.
Right, because they had fear of what happens when somebody enters a place that they're not supposed to. That's why, like when you read in the first 5 books of Moses, if somebody tried to enter into the Holy of Holies, they would get killed. Matter of fact, there was a dude amongst the Israelites that tried to bring a heathen into the tabernacle, and literally the priesthood came out and thrusted through him with a spear, just for being near the tabernacle. It's a very serious thing. Go ahead.
So is the Pope? Why does the Pope go to the Holy of Holies once a year?
That, like I said, Catholicism is an ill attempt at trying to keep some of those aspects, but they have obviously been influenced by a lot of other cultures as well. Another thing that they'll do is they'll be very religious in that sense, where they'll only do certain things very uncommonly just for the sake of seeming like it's really, really sacred, because they try to puff themselves up to be the authority when they're not. They're obviously not. They come from a whole different bloodline of people, but they've established their rulership through their conquest, and so now they're trying to cover up their steps, so to speak. So now it's more of a matter of them trying to maintain their authority than it is them actually maintaining the consistency of the scriptures, and that comes with give and take as far as like their ability to do so, because one minute they're over here trying to say not to be mean to the LGBT community and being accepting of them. Another minute they're over here doing this, that, and third. So I'm just like, I don't even pay no much mind anymore. But for those Black and Hispanic and Native Americans, mainly the natives and the Hispanics that are in Catholicism, they're really locked into that stuff. But really, the Most High is calling those out, even from amongst these other denominations and whatnot, for the sake of bringing Israel into the truth. So you're going to see a lot of people that are still confused and bamboozled by those doctrines. But you're also going to see people that are a little bit more open-minded to hearing the truth and seeking out the scriptures, like we started with in Job chapter 8, verse 8. I think it was Job. Yeah, it was Job, right? Yeah, Job 8 and 8. Seeking and understanding the truth about their fathers, their forefathers, and their lineage. And that's why we went and read all these different excerpts in this book. Matter of fact, there's one more I want to get. Give me, did we do verse 42? No, page 42. No, we won't do that one. Would yeah. Give me go to the very front of the book. The very front of the book, it's written with Roman numerals, and go to the number that has the X on it. I think that means 10. You'll see it at the bottom of the page. Roman numerals are weird because it goes I, then I-V, or all that kind of stuff, right? Or IV, all that kind of weird, goofy stuff. You just go to the one that says X. That should be page 10. And that's called the preface. That's kind of like an excerpt that the author wrote before even getting into the chapters. Is it? Yeah, like I said, I had my mother. She was reading it. She was so interested in reading it. She started writing on here too. This one right here. Oh, let's start. I got it highlighted. I just need this part right here, and we'll end it on that. That little part. I have it. What was that, like a fly or something? Oh, that part that's outlined with the pen, the blue pen. We're gonna read that part right there.
Got it. That their language should soon change and different dialects of it be formed.
Right. So the Hebrew that they use changed over time, changed completely based off of whoever was in charge of any particular tribe or province or settlement amongst the natives. And so the Hebrew started to change form, but we still managed to find artifacts about a lot of the Hebrew that was intact. But we do see that, of course, over time, the Native Americans started to have their own languages, right? Like Navajo and all these different other, like, Cherokee and all them. They started to kind of do their own thing. But some of those things are all rooted in a similar language. And that's what they're explaining. So let's go ahead and read that.
Is no more than has occurred in all parts of the world upon the divisions of families.
Right, exactly. So he's the writing expectation. He's saying, look, this happened with every culture. Every time that people branched out and started to move to different places and culture spread out over time, that lack of communication because of how far they were away from each other always leads to different dialects and different variations of language. It's the same thing here in America. English is English, but English in the South is different from English on the North. English on the East Coast is different from English on the West Coast. So when we understand that, and that's and mind you, that's with technology and telephones and internet. But when you don't have none of those things, the characters and the languages that are written might change. Some of them may not even be able to remember the alphabets, so they'll just go based strictly off of verbal, or pass it down verbally. But some of them were more intact than others, and so that's why it's explaining why there's so many variations amongst the natives and the indigenous peoples of North, Central, and South America, which makes sense, especially given it had taken like 1,500 years or more from when we first came over here to when we first started dealing with the other nations coming over here. Go ahead.
Is no more, okay. The three great heads of our race, the sons of Noah, separating from the place of their birth in a northern and eastern and a western direction, became the roots from which many nations sprang.
So it's funny that it says the three great names. That's referring to what I would assume to be Noah's sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. What were the names that it said in there? It says three names, but I don't know if it uses a similar name.
It said it didn't have. I don't see the name.
Oh, it doesn't say. Okay, no worries.
No.
Go ahead.
Because it said the three great heads of our race, the sons of Noah, separated from the place.
Oh, there it is. There it is. The sons of Noah. There it is. Go ahead.
Northern and eastern and western direction became the root from which many nations sprang, and from them the numberless languages of the world have arisen.
Go ahead.
Many tongues are spoken by the habitation.
The inhabitants, yeah.
Yeah, the inhabitants of Africa. Many by the people of the East. And Sir William Jones, speaking of Tartars, says that their language, like those of Americans, are perpetual fluctuations, and that more than 50 dialects are spoken between Moscow and China by the many hundred tribes and their several branches.
Right. So it's just pointing out the how that happened over on the other side of the globe as well. So of course it would happen here too. Was there any more that was highlighted? Oh, okay. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, no, I think where's it say? But the main part there was it says these three great classes of the Aboriginal Americans first and best known among them, bore these great and substantial marks of a Hebrew and an Assyrian origin. That's what I wanted it to say. That's what I was trying to get to, that part right there. I think it's one of the pages. Let me see that book real quick. I think it might be the page before. X, 1X. There it is. Yeah, there it is. This part right here. Right there, highlighted.
Okay, the 3rd grade classes of the Aboriginal Americans, first and best known as them, bore these great and substantial marks of a Hebrew and a Assyrian nation.
That's it right there. So it says it bore the marks of a Hebrew and Assyrian nation here in the Americas. And the reason why that's important is because they noticed the correlation between the culture here in the Americas and the culture of Israel and also of Assyria over there and that side of the globe, which is exactly where these people escaped from. So they actually did show some signs of Assyrian culture as well. But that is because we came from that captivity, had been in that captivity for a number of years, and had taken on some of the things that they did there. So there's some similarities. They're just pointing that out. But really, when you look at it, the Bible is absolutely true. Oh, we're good on that. We'll be closing out here. The Bible is absolutely true. That's the authority on all of it. The reason why I wanted to go into some of these history books is just so that you can see that there are other perspectives from historians out there that clearly state all the things that we're saying. It's just that most people don't know they exist. So they assume that this is some kind of brand new doctrine or something like that, and it's absolutely not true. This is an ancient doctrine. It's just that the further back you go when it comes to the Europeans coming over here and studying us, the more you'll see that they actually believe that the people here were Israelites as part of the 10 tribes, or at least the northern tribes of Israel, and that we absolutely are the people of the antiquity, of the people of the original sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You understand? And there's so much more of these things that we could bring out in other classes later on. But I wanted to set that at least something as a foundational class that we can then present for our Native American brothers who will be paying attention to some of these classes moving forward. And for those of you that are in some of the Facebook groups, such as the Native Americans and the Hispanic people of Central and South America, we welcome you to watch these classes along with us and to seek a new perspective, or rather an ancient perspective that is just being reawakened on the earth right now. And to us as priests and prophets of the nation of Israel and the under Christ and in the Isupk under Commander General Yohana, we're here to teach the truth of the Bible of so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians, their real true culture and identity according to the scriptures. So with that, I want to go ahead and pass the class off to Priest and Officer Yakal Ya'ala for the security announcements. Go ahead, Yakal. They good. Oh yeah, we just gotta charge those mics.
This is the Isupk security announcements. We are the Isupk, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are here to shed themselves with the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, and the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. My Ishra, which means 10th in the Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priest, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. Memorial of blowing of trumpets, the first day of the 7th month. That's Friday, September 11th. You can find this in the book of Numbers, chapter 23, verses 24 through 25. Remember to check the bulletin board by the doorway. And if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing boots, shirt, pant, headband, scarf. This concludes the ISUPK security announcements. And with that, men of Israel, Majum. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Majum Shabbat, Amajum, Barak, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Brakatah, Yagdamata, Sar, face sisters, Amajum, which means stand. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Majum Shabbat, Amajum, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, Lataba, Shem Yahweh Yagdamata. Class dismissed.